Okay, and let's begin. All right, so this is going to be our follow-up to your discussion about Marxism and the middle class. You're going to have 4 brainstorm questions here. So based on the videos about inequality in the middle class, what was one piece of evidence that you used in the discussion that there is worse inequality? All right, so if you need to, you can jump back to your discussion. All you need to do is find one of those pieces of evidence that inequality is getting worse or is a problem, and just drop it in the brainstorm box. Oh, because you're out of characters.
Just click it.
Yeah, you can go ahead and submit it. That's okay. So not equal job opportunities, pay. All right. So gap between the two. Put that there. Rising costs. Okay. So with this one, let's come back to that one. Okay, we've got that. Okay, so as we think about this for your notes. All right, so one of those things would be the claim that the gap between rich and poor, or depending on who you ask, everyone else, is growing. You saw that put different ways. The first video is the gap between the 1% and everybody else is getting bigger. In some, it's that the middle class is being left behind. But they're all variations on that same story. Now, the second one here, that the minimum wage is going down. We need to be a little bit careful with that one. It's not, and I understand what is being said there, it's not necessarily that we're watching the actual dollar amount of the minimum wage go down. Because, I mean, is that been what's actually happening in this country? No, it's going up, but the argument is that what that minimum wage will buy is less and less. Right? So, again, that's not wrong. We just need to be careful how we phrase it in your notes. I think we can put it that way. Minimum wages buy less than they used to, or don't go as far. You don't have to have it word for word what I have here, as long as the meaning is equivalent. Okay, and I guess here we should also that I think we put that there with racism and also gender inequality. Okay, now one thing here, right? So if we think about the videos and we think about Marxism, right? Would Marx talk a lot about race or gender? No. So, but I think here some of what we're getting is, in your thoughts, just kind of the influence in from general conflict theory or gender conflict theory. So we should be careful here. I mean, that wouldn't be the thing for Marx. It's not that he didn't care at all about race or gender, although when it comes to gender in Marx's personal life, it's kind of a different story. But if we think about at least the not equal job opportunities, there is one issue, and it can be very much related to issues of gender and race. And that was wealthier people, we could put this as entrench their advantage, or it's Friday, let's use less obscure terms. So wealthier people can lock in their advantages. For example, one of the videos talked about that scandal where one of the actresses from Full House, what was it? What did she do? She bribed somebody to get her kids into, what school was it? Stanford? Right, or something. Yeah, so I mean, people use those and it's not just that, right? It isn't, right? I mean, we're seeing some of this here in St. Joe right now. I mean, if you look at a lot of the people in this whose jobs in this town pay the most, they don't live here anymore. Right? I mean, when I was in high school, we talked about Lake of 12 Oaks as Lake of 12 Doctors, and that's still kind of true, but some of those doctors now live in Kansas City or farther out in the country, but they don't live in town, right? And their kids don't go to school here, right? They put their kids in school districts that are better funded, have newer facilities, smaller class sizes, stuff like that, and they can afford to do that, right? Because they can just up stakes and move. Can a poor student at this school, can their family just uproot and move wherever they want to go? No, right? I mean, so this is one of the issues with inequality, is that wealthier people can take advantage of more and more stuff. Another issue here with different job opportunities. What did the videos say about people with less education? What's been their position over the last 50 years or so? Right, for people who have less education. Maybe they went to high school, but they didn't go to college. They didn't get some advanced training and to be like a machinist or a plumber. And I know you guys are thinking plumber. Right? That does not sound glamorous, but they make a lot of money. Right? And it is a skilled job. You've got to know what you're doing to do that. What's happened? What's happened to somebody, let's say that Jaden leaves high school, right, and Jaden's just going to go out and get a job that's available to somebody with a high school diploma. Is he going to be able to get as good a job now as he could have 50 years ago? Probably not. That's one of the points, right? Now, I mean, Jaden could still, I know people that this was really frustrating to me when I was still working at Coolcrest and attending Mo West. I'm working for, at that time, like, I don't know, $7.50 an hour, right? And I see somebody I went to high school with that got terrible grades and did absolutely nothing pull up in a brand new Chevy Tahoe with chrome rims. And I'm thinking, man, what did I do wrong? Well, I didn't get a job for the United Auto Workers Union at a Ford plant in Kansas City. That's what, his would have been GM. But that's what I didn't do. So you still can, but are there as many of those like high-paying union jobs for somebody right out of high school? No, right? They still exist. I don't want to give you the impression that they don't exist. I also am not trying to, I'm not going to be one of those teachers that says everybody needs to go to college. It's not because I would say, like, secretly a lot of you don't have what it takes, but no, I mean, for a lot of you it's not necessary to make good money. But the point of the videos is for people who don't at least get some advanced skills, the jobs available to them pay less than what they could have got in the past. Let's see, so... college. Okay, so well-paying jobs for people without college, advanced skills are fewer. Because where in the past Jaden could have just left high school with a diploma, or maybe even left high school at 16 without a diploma, gotten a factory job that would have paid really well, that's much less likely now. And so chances are, instead of getting that factory job, Jaden works on a different kind of assembly line, putting together Big Macs or Whoppers. Is that going to pay as much as somebody that's got a UAW job in Kansas City? No, not even close. Not even close. Okay, let's go back to your Kahoot. So we've got that. Okay. Medical taxes. Let's see, we're trying to think of where we want to put that. Yeah, okay. So I guess with this one, well, we'll leave that one out of inequality for now, but we'll come back to that one. Okay, let's move on to our next brainstorm. We're going to skip voting on this one. It's not as essential here. Okay. Based on the same videos, what is one piece of evidence that de-emphasizes inequality or tells us we shouldn't really be worried about inequality? And I guess I'd kind of led Maverick astray. You might not be able to copy and paste something directly from your discussion if it's too lengthy to fit within Kahoot's character constraints. Well, then I made it even worse because you typed everything out and then it was still too long. Okay. Okay. So that one would fit more in that first category, equal opportunity. Okay. Well, we did not mean to combine those two. Okay. Actually, so we can leave those things kind of as their own separate thing. So one of the issues that we see is that part of the issue is people can go up and people can go down. It's not just a story that the rich get richer and they all stay the same and they just continue to get rich, and the poor are this mass where nobody escapes. Right? Or the middle class is this place where you can go down but you can't go up. Right? What several of the people we've seen in these videos mentioned is that the content of the classes, right? The people in the classes change over time. It might be possible that Della will become fabulously wealthy and be in that top quintile, or maybe even the top 1%, but Della will spoil her children, and they will be lazy, they will be bad with money, and they will spend their way into the bottom quintile. Right? Don't screw up your kids, Della. Right? It just sounds awful for them, right? And that can happen. Right? So people can move up and down, and that means that there is what we call social mobility. Okay, so you also have these that go together, right? One of the arguments is it doesn't matter if the gap is getting bigger as long as we all have better lives. Right? I mean, and that was the point that one of those people made. Like, yeah, your money would have bought more in the past, right? But how many of you would want to go grocery shopping in 1970 St. Joseph? I'm trying to think what could even give you that experience. It would have been back in my days, Sack and Save in South End St. Joe. That would have given you the 70s shopping experience. It's hard for me to imagine where you could. Like, the closest thing you have to that kind of old-timey grocery store is Green Hills at Belton Carnes. And I'm not putting them down. It's not the same as the 70s. There's still more variety. Right? So, Bree, were you saying you'd be okay with?
It depends on the shopping floor, cake clothing, just because I like the 70s fashion.
Okay, so it could be the fashion, right? Let's think about if you're going to be buying. If you're going to be buying groceries, how many of you think you could still get the same kind of things you like to eat today shopping in a 70s grocery store? Right. What do you think? So, Bree, what would you be shopping for?
Bread.
What's that?
Bread and tomatoes.
Okay, bread, tomatoes. You think you're going to get some organic, on the vine Campari tomatoes? No. And maybe you don't care. Maybe that's fine, right? How many of you like to buy organic food? Or like to eat organic food? All right. Yeah, that's going to be tough, right? I mean, this is the age of all kinds of persistent pesticides and all kinds of stuff. It's going to be tough, right? So the point is, we've got better variety and often better quality stuff. And I'm not talking about here that we've got to be snooty like our bobbies here, right? And drive down to Johnson County to shop at Whole Foods. Or, I mean, you can go to Sam's Club and get on the vine Campari tomatoes. How do you think I knew those things existed, people? Right, I'm not driving to Whole Foods myself. Right? Got better quality stuff, right? Even at a warehouse store like Sam's Club. Okay, so there's that. Also, right? I'm going to give you $500 to buy a TV. Right? And you can either buy a TV in 2022 or 1970. What situation do you want? What do you think, Jordan? You got $500. You staying in 2022, or you want to go back to 1970?
I don't know how much TVs are now, but I think 1970 would be better for fashion.
But it would no. So it's actually like I haven't bought a TV in like 11 years, I think. Right, but even back then, like I used $500 2020 because I cheated a little bit. I know that like back in 2011, like I think I spent like $350 for that TV. Now it's not great by today's standards, but still, it's better than anything that existed back then. Right, and I had a rich uncle, a rich great uncle, who was like he trained executives for Hallmark down in Kansas City, and I remember being a kid and going to his house in Lee Summit. He had an in-ground pool with a diving board, right? And he had a big screen TV. I remember being a kid, like walking up there, he's watching golf, and the golfers are as big as I am. Now I'm like 5, so it's not that big, but it was a big TV. Pictures suck, right? So the point is, we can get better quality products, right? And let's see. So Jordan, here's another example. I'll give you $1,000 to buy a smartphone. Do you want to buy a smartphone in 2022 or in 1970? Why not 1970? Because they didn't have them. Exactly. And so, I mean, that's the kind of point that, like, we have better stuff, right? And do only wealthy people have smartphones? No, right? I mean, everybody has smartphones. Virtually. I mean, I don't know many people who don't, right? It's very rare the student in my classrooms who doesn't have a smartphone. Right? And you guys are too young to be super rich. Okay. Just as another example, back in the 80s, when I lived in what's now called Midtown, but wasn't back then, my room was in the attic of the house. I mean, it was a finished attic, it was fine, but it wasn't air conditioned because window units were too expensive back then, right? But now you can also buy a window unit at like Sam's Club or any box store, and they're not that expensive, right, by comparison. I'm not saying they're cheap, but they're not like something that my parents would have done without in 2022 that they did back in the early 80s. Okay, let's see. Let's go back here. I've already closed out the exit slips so that you guys don't have to worry about that because I know we're almost out of time. Kind of covered a lot of that. So the other thing here that I want us to add in before you submit these, and again, we'll finish it on Monday. That's my fault that we didn't finish it today. What was it? I lost my thought now. Oh, okay, yeah. Inequality motivates people to do better. Okay, once you get that typed in, save your notes here and make sure that it got everything saved in Google Drive. Then upload it to the assignment. We'll come back to it on Monday to finish it. For now, to get today's points, go ahead and upload now. You can go ahead and close out of the Kahoot. And Della, were you able to see all the stuff that I had reassigned? Okay, awesome. Okay, guys, have a good weekend. What's that, Bobby? Oh. Bobby. Good morning, Anna. Bree, thanks for being a good sport and chiming in about the shopping in the 70s. That nobody else was brave enough to do that. I appreciate it. Have a good weekend, Bree. Good morning, Chris. Is it giving you fits, Madison? Where it's not?
Yeah, I had to retry it, but it's not showing my last two ones. Like, it wasn't showing me.
Oh, so that's all it is.
Yeah, so it's not showing me.
Don't worry about that. I mean, I've seen that it's there, and I know you're doing your stuff, so it's fine. If it shows up that it's submitted late, don't worry about it. I'll take care of that too, Madison.
Thank you.
Yep. Have a good weekend. Thanks. Okay, shoot, did I finish up your assignment?